Welcome, my friends, to the Sage Aquay Radio Hour, your home for free and critical thinking, and I'm your host, Mike Williams. Tonight, my guest is Amir Rezai. Amir is the creativity behind the popular YouTube channel and blog, Insanity is Sanity. He is a critical thinker who tells us the world is a lot stranger than we could have ever imagined. The discussion with Amir is wide-ranging as we talk about his personal awakening, the flat earth, NASA, the Apollo missions, dinosaurs, and the Mandela Effect. And to kick our show off, I will play Amir's 1-minute video, Everything is Fake. And be sure to stay with us after the show to watch a few of Amir's other videos. And so without further ado, here is Everything is Fake.
Fake news, fake war, fake terror, fake food, fake water, fake rights, fake votes, fake choice, fake money, fake teachers, fake history. You don't know what's going on. Fake history, fake laws, fake moon, fake books, fake people, fake truth, fake fears always there, fake lies on the rise, fake comments, fake noses, fake borders, fake people, fake world, fake deaths, fucking clowns, no one laughs, fake clouds, fake souls, fake highs, AIs, what's love, is it real, fake smiles, broken hearts, fake wives, ruined lives, fake sex, fake marriage, fake genders, fake space, fake you, knowing the truth is eyes.
Amir, thank you so much for agreeing to come on the show. I love your YouTube channel, Insanity is Sanity. We're going to talk about a couple of things today, actually several things that I think is going to be of interest to folks that are in the alternative research community and the truth community. But before we get started, I was wondering, I asked this of all of my new guests, what was their journey in life? How did they end up doing the things that they're doing today? So I was wondering if you could just step us through where you started, where that point of transformation took place that got you on the path that you're on today.
Sure. Just want to say thanks for having me on, Mike. I've been listening to your show for a while, actually. So it's an honor to be here. Where should I start? Should I start from the beginning?
Yeah, start from wherever you want to start.
From the beginning? Yeah, I'll start from the beginning so your audience can get a good idea of where I came from. Because I'm just an average guy, to be honest. There's nothing special here. But the way it started for me is I went to university to study economics and finance, and eventually I got accepted onto a scholarship after I finished, which took me to Singapore for a year, and I worked in one of the major banks. And it happened there, to be honest. It was the first time I had traveled the world, and I went to Asia. I saw a lot of different places, and at the same time I was working in banking. So for me, that was the eye opener. It was working in that industry and realizing how corrupt it really is. And at the same time, realizing that I haven't seen the world at all. And there's so much to be seen. And if I'm going to be stuck in a 9-to-5 working for someone else, I will never get the opportunity to experience all of these different things. So it started from there, really. And when I came back to the UK, I quit my job. I quit my job in Singapore, came back to the UK, and I'd realized that if I wanted to experience what the world has to offer, I have to work for myself. I can't work for someone else and at the same time have all of the freedoms that I want. So that's what I did. I taught myself web design, animation, graphics, that sort of thing. And I've been doing that for about 13 years now, just working for myself. And through that process, this was all after 9/11, I should add. During that process, because I had a lot of free time, I started to research different things. I started off with banking, seeing where money comes from, how it's made, where it goes, who makes the money, who controls it. And it sort of that opened my eyes, really. It was the money. And it went from there, 9/11, etc., etc. And here we are a few years later, flat earth and all of these other crazy things. So for me, it was just a personal experience, journey, just a normal guy who woke up one day and realized the world is not what I've been told my whole life. And it just went from there, really.
Well, what's interesting is the more you dig, the more you realize it's really not what you were taught.
No.
Not at all.
And sometimes I find that I doubt myself with the things I believe because they're so strange. I think to myself, how can it be this strange? It just, but it is now. Right now, I'm convinced there's so many things we don't know. There's so many things that have been hidden from us, and to me, in a way, now I realize that life, that the meaning of life. People say, "What is life? Why are we here?" Now I'm sort of thinking maybe the meaning of life is to just find these things out and realize how amazing it is. It's so, the journey's been amazing for me. It's been fun. I don't regret it. I don't regret waking up. But yeah, it just keeps going.
Well, we all go through that process. I spoke to Oli Damigard several months ago. He was on the show, and I had said to Oli, and I mentioned this on a few shows, I said, Oli, everything worth knowing is a lie. Mm-hmm. And I felt the same way you felt, Amir, where I was going through this process and I was thinking, am I crazy? I mean, am I just a bona fide lunatic for looking into this stuff and then starting to understand it and believe that this is how it works? I mean, am I really off base? But, after a lot of research and taking a look at many, many topics and subjects, whether it be flat Earth, whether it be the Mandela Effect, whether it be 9/11, everything, World War II, that it is all a lie. It's all a lie. And I don't hesitate to say that these days. I mean, there was a point in time when I would measure my words, but at this point in time, it's gotten to the point where it just is what it is.
Yeah, totally agree. And for me also, I should add, I was born in Iran, in Tehran, and then I moved to the UK with my parents. And there was a period where I used to go back and forth from the UK to Iran a lot because I have a lot of family there. And for me, the way I was raised, like my parents were not religious at all, so I had that sort of freedom. But living in Iran, the things that we were taught there about how America is evil, how religion is the only way, and all of these things, and then coming to the UK and seeing the complete opposite and thinking at the time that what I have in the UK is freedom compared to what I had in Iran. And now I realize that it's actually probably the opposite. And in no way am I free here or freer than I was in Iran. So the lies are not just, here in the West, they're everywhere. Even during my research, I've realized that even the Iranian government works hand in hand with the same people that they say are their enemies. That's how big the lies are. Because I was there in Iran during the Iran-Iraq war, and I remember that we used to go into these bunkers, underground bunkers, where the missiles were coming. And now when I think back to it, I think to myself, well, if all of this is a lie, then the wars, what were they? I mean, I saw the missiles, I heard the planes, but did it happen because of the reason we're told, or was it another lie? So in a way, it's kind of sad to me, because I think about the family I have there and all of the people who believe in the lies to this day. It's just that's the only downside to waking up, is realizing everyone else is under this illusion, and it's that's why you think you're crazy, because you think everyone else, the majority, has to be right, but it's not the case, is it?
Well, it's a massive lie, and it is all interconnected. I agree with you on that, and it's just basically a gigantic chessboard. Mm-hmm. And the people, the masses, the population, they're the pawns on the board, and they're being used and manipulated in order to push across an agenda, and that agenda is, one, to keep total control over humanity, and to take that total control and manifest it into, one government or one form of governance, to make sure that everybody falls in line, and that's what they want at the end of the day. But let me ask you this question: you are a flat earther, as I am a flat earther, and I always ask my flat Earth guests to take us through their journey as to when did they turn the corner and embrace the flat Earth theory? I mean, in the beginning, for me, when I first saw the flat Earth videos come out, I was very skeptical, and I was scoffing at them, to be quite honest. I wasn't taking it seriously. And as I've mentioned on other shows, what happened was there's a little voice in my head that said, Mike, just watch some of this stuff. And I did. And when I started to watch it, it started to pique my interest, and I started doing my own research into it. And then ultimately what happened was I just became a believer in the flat earth theory, which, by the way, folks, doesn't mean that we believe the earth is like flat, right? It means that we believe it's not a big ball spinning around at 1,000 miles an hour. So maybe, Amir, you could take us through your flat earth journey.
Sure. Can I just quickly add, you made a good point about government, and you said a one world government. I think that from what I'm seeing now, it's like this one world government is already here. Like the fact that all of these countries are at war means absolutely nothing. It's just another way for them to bring about the illusion that everything is not one, if that makes sense.
Right.
So that's what I think. That's how I feel, because to this day, not to this day, to up until recently, I used to think that, but the country where I used to live, Iran, was different to all of these other countries. And so there can't be a one world government, because we have Yemen, we have Iran, Syria. They're not part of it, but now I'm realizing that they are. So the one world government, I think, is already in place, and it's just a matter of them making people accept it.
Yeah, continuing basically the whole in front of the curtain.
Yeah, exactly.
Puppet show, right?
Exactly, yeah.
Yep, to keep people engaged.
Yeah, and to hide certain things like the flat earth. So for me, it was, I think it was very similar to how you came across flat earth. I saw on YouTube random recommendations, and I couldn't bring myself to watch these videos because of how ridiculous they sounded. I mean, I remember skimming through one of the Eric Dubai videos at the very beginning and thinking to myself, this is silly. I'm not going to listen. And I turned it off. Voice in my head that kept saying to me for a few weeks, just listen, just give it a chance. And it kept popping up. So I did. One night I listened. I think I went through Jeranism's, at the time he wasn't as big as it is now, but he had a few videos. And I went through every single one. And by the time I was finished, I was convinced. Like the material I saw convinced me that, okay, there could be something to this. And then it was very weird, because even though I really enjoyed watching it and I sort of believed it, it got pushed to the back of my head, and I went back to the globe. So I was almost like a flat earther for a few days, and I went back. And that lasted probably another month or two. And then one day I just went and listened again, and I was like, yeah, I'm going to look more into this. And I did. And the more I looked, the more convinced I became, to up until now. I mean, I did a few experiments myself. I've got a few videos on my channel. There's no denying it anymore for me. It's plain as day.
Yeah, the same with me. And you know what really iced it for me was I had to come to grips with the fact that I, for the longest time, believed that there were no men landing on the moon, that the Apollo missions were a complete hoax, and they are a hoax. And so I had to square it with myself and say, look, okay, Mike, so if you believe that the Apollo missions were faked, then why wouldn't you give more attention to the flat earth? There's a reason why they didn't go to the moon. And maybe one of those reasons was they can't get to the moon because the moon is not terra firma. I mean, one argument would be that they simply just did not have the technology, okay, which I believe is true also. And then the other piece of it, which I had to come to grips with, was the fact that, well, the moon is not something that you land on. Yeah. You know, I believe that the moon is a light in the sky, the same as the sun is a luminary in the sky. I mean, that's where I've landed with this, at least right now, until maybe additional evidence and facts come forward. So I don't believe that the moon is someplace that you can go land a lunar module on and then walk around on.
No, I totally agree. I mean, I was the same throughout my whole life. Even before I woke up to the whole banking thing, I always knew that 9/11, there was something dodgy about it. I knew that the moon landings were something dodgy about them. But, you know, it's one of those things where you sort of know, but you don't care. You know what I mean? So you don't really pursue it. You just know in the back of your mind something's not right. But until you sit down and really take a look for yourself, you're not going to know. And for me, it was the same throughout my whole life. I've been going, believing that, yeah, moon landing, that probably didn't land, but yeah, whatever. There's probably aliens up there, or, you know, space program, secret space program. So I had all of these things that I would see online about aliens and stuff, and would think to myself, that's probably why. I never even considered the fact that it might be flat, and that's why they can't leave. But once I looked into flat Earth, it all clicked, everything. I mean, once you look into flat Earth and you really dig in, everything else clicks. The moon landings, all of the rockets that they shoot up, everything. NASA. So for me, it was very, very, very convenient that finding flat Earth just sort of closed every other conspiracy quotes that I had in the back of my mind.
Yeah, and what it did for me was it cleared a lot of junk off the table. There was a lot
Yeah.
of stuff I used to focus on, things like alien bases on the moon, possible Mars civilizations, and so on. And once you get your head wrapped around the fact that there's a firmament and they can't leave the dome, then what happens is things like breakaway civilizations, as an example, which is always played out there, that the elites are, they have secret bases, they have starships, they're traveling the solar system, and all that stuff is a farce. It's a total hoax. So the next question, though, is once you conclude that the breakaway civilization or the space program, more generally speaking, is not what we are told it is, that they're not going to space, they're not doing spacewalks, they're not doing this, they're not doing that, then the question becomes, what are they doing with all the money? Because the money they're receiving is real. So I've been asked that question before, and my answer has been that it's possible that they're taking that money and they're investing it in black ops programs and technology, which is going to be used to further oppress humanity. So while you think that, they're doing spacewalks and planning the next probe to go to, Neptune or whatever, the truth of the matter is they're using that money against humanity to make sure that humanity continues to stay shackled. I mean, that's a theory that I have. I can't prove that, obviously, but they're doing something with the money, and it can't be good.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, there's a lot of money, but NASA gets, what is it, $50 million a day?
Yeah.
Something stupid like that. So yeah, that money has to go somewhere. I mean, that's a lot of money. So to think that they're just throwing that money away or just putting it aside for themselves is just naive. So yeah, they're definitely investing in something. They're obviously not investing into healthcare because we don't see any improvements there. They're not improving any of the structures, the buildings that we have. So what are they doing? So you're right, secret projects, I wouldn't put it past them. I mean, I don't know if you know about all the Antarctica visits that they make, that they go. I mean, for all we know, there could be more land above, beyond Antarctica. So maybe they're investing in technology down there. Who knows? But and yeah, I agree that the fact that they've been lying this long, we shouldn't think that they're gonna stop anytime soon. So yeah, they're probably investing in stuff to keep us suppressed even more. I mean, with this whole flat Earth awakening as well. I do see a lot of misinformation that comes out, a lot of more lies built on top of truth. So all of this has to come from somewhere, and someone has to approve it. So yeah, all of this money probably goes into lying to the people further, even more.
I agree that that's exactly what's happening. Like we said, the money has to go someplace. They're spending it on something. They're certainly not spending all that money for some person to put CGI together.
Yeah, and it's not even that good. Their CGIs are rubbish. Yeah.
Yeah.
You also got to consider the fact that it's not just NASA. You've got the European Space Agency, you've got Russia, China, even the Iranian Space Agency. You've got to look at some of their videos. It's so fake. It's unbelievable. So all of these space agencies, they all work together at one, and they all get a lot of money too. And so all that money, where does it go?
Yeah, and it goes back to what we said before, that it's all interconnected. You would think all of these space agencies would be working independently to a large degree on behalf of their nation state. But the truth of the matter is that they're all lying, and they're all lying in the same exact way.
Yeah, totally.
So let me ask, Amir, when folks ask you about the flat Earth, when people show a keen interest, or a genuine interest, I should say, what are some of your major talking points to get those people to consider the theory? What do you explain to them that they should give some thought to?
Well, before I used to just go up to people and say, "Did you know the Earth is flat?" It was just, I was so excited, I used to just come out with it, and no one bought it. I mean, I realized pretty soon after that the way you have to go about it is to start slow. So what I do now is I first start with the moon landings, and I'll ask, do you think we went to the moon? If they say no, then instantly I know that they can accept flat Earth. If they say yes, we've been to the moon, I generally don't bring up the flat Earth because I know that they won't be able to comprehend it at all. So that's how I go about it. I ask about the moon landings. If they say no, we didn't, then I slowly go into it. I talk about the curvature. That's one of the most obvious ones to me is the curvature that you can't actually see anything. I mean, I've been to the south of England, you can see France, which is like 60 miles away. So I bring up points like that, and usually I get a good response. There's been a couple of people that I've converted into Flat Earth. I've recently started working for a company part-time just for some extra money. One of the guys that works there, within a few days of working there, I started telling him about it, and now he comes in every day. He's like, "Oh, did you know about this curvature thing, this Flat Earth?" And it's quite satisfying to watch because you can see the change in people after they realize the Earth is flat. I don't know if that makes sense, but I can see it. I can see the expression on their face, the way they carry themselves. Because for me, it's changed everything, not just my beliefs, but like my everything about the way I think, feel, treat other people. So it's very, very interesting to see people change their perspectives and also change the way they are. So for me, I do it. Any opportunity I get, I'll bring up Flat Earth. I haven't convinced anyone in my family yet, but it's just mainly friends and colleagues.
Well, what it's done for me, like I said, it's cleared off a bunch of stuff off the table that I used to focus on. I don't put any of my time or energy into those things. Anything that comes out from NASA, as far as I'm concerned, is a lie. SpaceX is a joke. And all of these things that so many people are still focusing on Elon Musk and all of his lies and just being so dedicated to it, I just removed that from my life. So what it's done, it's been a cleansing, if you will.
Yeah.
Right, to get that stuff out of the way, and it allows me to now dedicate my time and energy to areas which I believe are more truthful, things that I really need to focus on. So from that perspective, it's been great.
Yeah.
Well, how do you deal with people then that are dyed-in-wool heliocentrists or believe in the globe model that attack you? I've seen some of your Facebook posts where you're like, hey, these people are out of control.
Yeah.
I'm being attacked left and right. How do you handle that?
To be honest, Mike, I've always had a short temper my whole life, and I get wound up very quickly. So when someone disagrees, I mean, I don't mind people disagreeing with me, but when you bring up the Flat Earth and people seem to get, they get angry and they get very, they attack you. I don't know why it's like that. Everyone that doesn't want to accept it gets very, aggressive. So the way I deal with it now is, I know, on Facebook, I've had a few incidents. I just delete them. I can't. I just literally physically cannot respond to that sort of negativity, because the way these people come across with their answers is they're not trying to teach you. They're trying to force it down your mouth. And if you don't want to accept it, they get angry and they beat you. It's just, I mean, to me, what I've realized, Mike, is before I used to go watch the news or watch TV, and that's where I used to get my information. I used to always be secondhand knowledge for me. It was just what other people tell me. But now I've realized that real news and real knowledge comes from real experience. Like for me, everyone's reality is subjective. So for me, is very subjective to me. So I'm not going to accept something that someone else tells me might be correct. So what I've realized now is, with this whole YouTube and everything, is people like us, like me and you, we are sharing our knowledge and our experience with each other. And that is, to me, the most pure form of information that I can get. So that's why I'm doing this YouTube stuff. That's why I listen to shows like yours, because I know the information is coming from someone like me who's experiencing this stuff and giving me their perspective on how it is, not some scientist who's trying to make money by lying. So when people attack me and say, oh, this and that, I just tell them, look, the knowledge that you have is not your own knowledge, it's secondhand, so it means nothing to me. I'm speaking from personal experience, so we can't discuss this because we're on different levels. It's just that simple, and I just ignore them.
That's where I land with it also, Amir. One of the things that comes across very clear when people want to argue with me on the flat earth, I don't get a lot of arguments anymore. I've done the same thing that you have done, which is if somebody is really not thinking, and I know some people are going to be cringing at this because they're going to say Mike's saying that we don't know what we're talking about, or we're not intelligent, or we're dumb. I'm not going to say anybody's dumb. What I'm saying is that you haven't done your homework. You haven't done your research. So what happens is when we talk about the flat earth, and many of us have done a lot of research into the flat earth. We've come to understand it.
Mm-hmm.
And quite honestly, just to back up a second, when I got into the flat earth and I started to get into it and try to understand it some more, I mean, one of the things that I realized was how much I didn't know about the heliocentric model.
Yeah.
Right. And so then I learned a lot about the heliocentric model and learned that I wasn't taught those things when I was in school. So there was it was a full like breadth of education that was coming across. I was learning more about the globe model and I was learning about the flat earth model. And so what happens is that when folks try to argue with me, let's say Facebook, and they try to get into some kind of comment debate, it becomes very, very obvious that they have no idea what it is they're talking about from either perspective. But what's very clear is that they want to argue against the flat earth, but they have not done 1 ounce of investigation into the flat earth. And their excuse most of the time, and it's a very poor excuse, is it's not worth it because the earth is just not flat. So when you think about that type of thinking where you're just going to shut something off because I am so stuck in my paradigm, I'm so stuck in what I've been told to believe in that I'm not going to even entertain looking into something else, that in itself is a problem. That in itself is not thinking critically.
Yeah, totally. I couldn't agree more. That's exactly right. Again, they're just accepting information that they've been told and they think they know. There was recently someone on YouTube, he's been attacking flat earth. I don't want to mention names or anything, but he's been attacking recently flat earth, making anti-flat earth videos. And he got on a debate a few days ago with a flat earther to try and prove to everyone that we're wrong and the earth is not flat. He got on the show and he started talking about Polaris, the star, the northern star. And the information he was regurgitating was completely wrong. He was saying that the Polaris doesn't move because it's so far away, which is not correct. Right. In the heliocentric model, that's not what we've been told. So yeah, you're right. People like this, they think they know what they're talking about, but they don't. And they don't bother to research, to just come and attack. And that is, to me, is not the way to go. So, there's nothing you can do with these people unless you just ignore them.
Well, what happens is, and they'll probably accuse us of the same thing, but I know what happens with me is if I'm watching a YouTube channel or a documentary or whatever, and the person is presenting a topic that I'm interested in, and as soon as they dive into aliens, UFOs, secret space program, moon bases, and stuff like that, I shouldn't say this because there's content that they're presenting that's probably very good, but overall what happens is I start to discount the entire presentation. And many times I've gotten to points where I've been listening to stuff like this and I just turn it off. I'm like, I'm not going to listen to this. Just not going to listen to it. Because if you haven't spent any time investigating the flat earth at this point in time, I can see in the very beginning 2 years ago, I was there. I didn't want to watch it. I thought it was crazy shit, And, but 2 years later, after looking into it and seeing all the experiments and finding out that there were indeed experiments done and that the debate about the flat earth was something that was still raging into the 1900s and that the moon mission, the Apollo missions, probably one of the main reasons why they staged it was in order to have some kind of quote unquote proof that we have a globe.
Yeah.
What about then, where do you stand on topics like aliens and UFOs and stuff like that? I mean, do those things exist? Do they exist maybe perhaps in another type of definition from a flat earth perspective? Are these things in place because they're trying to send people into rabbit holes that at the end of the day are non-existent? In other words, it doesn't mean anything. I mean, what are your thoughts on those types of things that are essentially built off the whole planetary solar system universe concept?
Well, I mean, to be honest, I've never seen an alien. I've seen things in the sky that I would consider a UFO because I don't know what they are. But I've never seen an alien. So I honestly, I used to believe in aliens. I was into the whole space thing, but now I'm exactly the way you are. When I listen to someone talk about aliens, I can't help myself switch off or just discredit everything. So where I stand with aliens now is I'm not going to say that they don't exist because I honestly do believe anything is possible at this point. And I do also believe that the people who are ruling over all of us, controlling 7 billion people or, whatever the number is, they can't be human. I honestly feel that there's something extra human about these people that they've managed to control all these people this long. So maybe they do exist, but they're not how we've been taught. They don't come from space or other planets. Obviously, we know that doesn't exist. So where do they come from? Do they come from across the plane, or are they already here?
Right.
So I do believe that there is definitely something that's non-human in control somewhere, but I've never seen it, and it's just speculation at this point. But it's funny how everything fits in together. So like you mentioned, the moon landings, they made it seem like they had to go to the moon because Russia was going to beat them to it, and we're going to have a space race and this and that. So everyone was concentrating on that, thinking that these two countries, the enemies, they're having a race to get to space. So everyone's focused on, that's why, one of the reasons why NASA went to the moon. It's the same thing with aliens. They introduced these aliens to confirm their model of planetary whatever, So I think that's how it's been fed to us. So it's most likely not how it is, because a lot of the things that they tell us is the complete opposite. I'm noticing everything is upside down. I don't know if you've noticed that yourself, but if I see something on TV nowadays, if they tell me to not do this thing, I do it. If they tell me to do this, I don't do it. So it's very strange. So I think it's just the way it's been sold to us. We've got the wrong idea about it. Aliens from other planets, no, but creatures or entities, maybe other dimension, I don't know, because I know we're going to touch on the Mandela Effect later. So I don't know about other dimensions, but there's definitely something there.
Or subterranean. I had a great researcher, Jack Hart's been on my show a couple of times, and he said to me, I guess about a year ago on one of the shows, he said, Mike, one of the reasons why they want you to continue to look up into space is because they don't want you looking down. They don't want you to understand what's underneath your feet. So I think that interdimensional, subterranean, I think that these are areas that we really need to do more research into and investigate. And like Jack Hart said, stop looking up.
Yeah.
And don't pay attention to planets and Planet X and all that stuff. That stuff is just nonsense. It doesn't exist. Amir, let me ask you this now, because this kind of dovetails into the flat earth and the fake history and the stuff that we've been taught. What about dinosaurs? I mean, in your view, did dinosaurs ever exist, or is that just another hoax?
Well, I made a video on this actually a while back. The research I've done into dinosaurs, Mike, tells me that they never existed. Most of the bones that they're finding are not dinosaur bones. Like, what they do is they'll find a collection of different bones, and there'll be big bones. They won't know what it's from, but they'll put them all together and say, oh, this was a dinosaur. But if you look and you do your research, you'll find that most of these bones that they've claimed they found have turned out to be fake. When you go to a museum, everything that's on display is not actually real. It's all made out of plaster. And it's just very convenient how all of the bones that they find, it seems to be, it's not a normal, person like me and you who stumbles across a bone. It's just all these scientists always find the bones, don't they? Yeah. And no one ever gets to see them. They get sent off to a museum somewhere. They were put in a safe, and the replicas put out for us to see. So to me, there's no evidence that they existed. Again, it's just another lie to confirm their evolution theory, the space. All of this is linked, like we talked about, evolution. So without one, everything else will fail, So yeah. I think that's, for me, dinosaurs didn't exist. And even if they did, it doesn't make any difference to my life. And it doesn't make any difference what the planet Mars looks like, or if we're going to land on it. See, they've got us worrying about all of these things that are so irrelevant, that matter nothing at all to anyone. And they've got us chasing and arguing about all these things, which, we shouldn't be concerned about. There's so many problems we have in this world, and people are running around trying to prove dinosaurs exist. It's very silly. The way they've brainwashed people is it's very clever. I've got to give it to them. The way it's done is very, very smart.
Oh, it's ingenious. The way they go about it, it is ingenious. It's brilliant and evil at the same time.
Yeah.
With the whole dinosaur thing, my understanding is they really didn't even come up with a bone until I think it was the late 1800s. I could be wrong on that. Yeah. So
and the term, the word dinosaur was actually coined up before they found the bone.
Okay.
I can't remember who it was, but they came up with a name. I think it was about a century before the first bone was found. So, it's everything that they've done is built on stories from the past. It seems, like.
Right, and it also plays into the whole asteroid
Yeah.
game, right? Dinosaurs were destroyed by a massive asteroid, and now we keep seeing all of these news articles coming up where NASA found another asteroid. It's going to come close to Earth. It could possibly hit Earth, or talk about what happens if we have an asteroid strike. So it's more of this fear stuff, get people kind of concerned about what happens. Can NASA or the government save us? Can they intercept that asteroid? I mean, they did a movie with Bruce Willis. I forgot the name of the movie, but they landed on an asteroid.
Yeah, they landed.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you got the fossil fuels as well, that oil comes from dinosaurs apparently.
Oh, it's bizarre.
It's very bizarre. I mean, when doesn't it ever run out? I mean, how many dinosaurs were there? I mean, in my video that I did about dinosaurs, I asked the question. I said, look, these dinosaurs were huge. How much land would there need to be for all these dinosaurs to eat, for one?
Right.
How much plant matter would we need to have for them to eat? Where they're all going to live? And how many would there have to be for us to have this much oil and we're still going? It makes absolutely no sense. I mean, when you think about these things properly, you realize it's just Santa stories, it's like.
Yeah, it makes no sense whatsoever. I always had a hard time believing that oil came from fossilized dinosaur bones. I mean, it's ridiculous at face value, but the reason why they put it out there is because when they put it in those terms, then you have to think in terms of limited resources and scarcity.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? So, but I read an article going back several months ago, maybe even more, maybe a year ago, and I forgot who wrote the article. It was very well written. Maybe if I can dig it up, I'll put it in the show notes. But this person explained that oil is a natural mineral contained within the earth. Period. That's it. It doesn't come from fossilized dinosaur bones. It's part and parcel of what the world, the earth, is all about. So, so again, it's one of those stories that are told to put out there in order to be able to control the resource and make people believe it's scarce. So this way they can explain why it is that they have limited supply, or why they have to raise the price and so on, and keep you essentially enslaved to an energy system that revolves around oil.
Yeah, exactly. On a spinning ball, that's exactly why you run a ball as well, and you've got no way out. Once it runs out, it's done.
Right.
And so you can see how it all fits together.
And why they never actually ever really pursue alternative means of energy.
Yeah.
They talk about it, but they've been talking about that. I mean, look, I'm 58 years old. They've been talking about that, I would say probably for the last 30 to 35 years, about alternative means of energy, and nothing ever manifests. Nothing. At the end of the day, they keep talking about it, and 30 years later, it's still oil.
And we know that the alternative energy exists. I mean, we can run cars on water. It's been shown.
Right.
So why they don't pursue it? Yeah, exactly. You hear something about it and then it's gone.
Yeah. So that's what happens. It's the same thing with going back to NASA as an example, in the space agencies. They continue to pump out stuff saying, we're going to do this in 5 years. We're going to do that in 10. And then 5 or 10 years later, none of that stuff they spoke about 5 or 10 years earlier ever transpired.
No.
None of it. None of it. It's all a lie.
They're still doing it with the space tourism. How long have they been saying that?
Right.
And they're still saying 20 years from now, 10 years from now. It's the same thing. The way they do it, Mike, they put out information. For example, if you look back to the year 2000, remember the Y2K bug that they were going on about?
Yeah.
Every year, there's something that gets our attention, for example, the Y2K bug, and we wait for this thing to happen. So everyone was waiting from the year, 98 or whatever, till 2000 for this event to occur. Then nothing happens, right? And then next, we move on the next year, something else comes up. Oh, there's an asteroid going to hit Earth in 7 months. 7 months, nothing happens. And then something else. And it's constantly, these stories are being put out, and they get people waiting for this event or this thing, and nothing happens. And that's how they waste our time. And if you think back to it, it's already, like you said, 30 years has gone. and our generation dies out, we're waiting for all these things to happen, and then the next generation is none the wiser, and it's the same. They just waste their time with all these stories and all of these things that are meant to happen, and people wait around like, what was meant to happen in 2012? Nothing happened. I mean, something might have happened, but the way they portrayed it, no, it didn't. And then, if you remember, after 2012, they said, oh no, it's going to be next year. Next year, this is going to happen. And then 2015, 2016 is definitely the year everything's going to crash. And then nothing happened. And now I was listening to an interview last week. Someone was like, yep, it's definitely next year. I was like, okay, come, just give me a break. Nothing's going to ever happen. It's just their way of getting us just to stand around waiting. It's very clever.
Exactly, Amir. Make you wait. You're waiting for something to happen. And while you're waiting, what's happening is you're not doing something more productive.
Exactly.
Looking into something more productive.
Yeah.
You're just waiting. And I think people need to wake up to that. Stop waiting around. Stop sitting on your hands. Ignore this stuff because it's all propaganda.
Yeah.
Now, before we get into the Mandela Effect, I just want to tell you a little story. About, I guess it was 3 years ago, a good friend of mine, in fact, it was Jack Hart, he had sent me a link, and he didn't say anything in the email to me. He said, Mike, just read this article. So I read the article, and the article starts off by saying, some people remember Kirk Douglas dying. And I'm reading the article, and I'm thinking, well, Kirk Douglas is dead. I remember him dying in the 1990s. So I'm like, okay. So the article continues and says, some people remember Helen Thomas, who was the lead White House correspondent, dying. And I'm reading this and I'm thinking, well, I remember Helen Thomas dying also. I remember seeing the headlines in the newspapers. And then it goes on to talk about Richard Chamberlain, who is an actor, and I remember Richard Chamberlain dying. At the time when this article came out, when Jack sent it to me, because Jack does a lot of deep research, and he's ahead of the curve on a lot of this stuff, I didn't know that it was called the Mandela Effect. I didn't know anything about it. So what happened to me was after I had read this article, I went on to Google, and I'm like, this is a bunch of nonsense. I mean, Kirk Douglas is dead. So I go type in Kirk Douglas, and back 3 years ago when I read the article, it says that Kirk Douglas is approaching 100 years old, and he's blogging in Los Angeles. It was mind-boggling to me. And for a moment there, I thought I was crazy, and so I spoke to a couple of other people. In fact, I spoke to Jack about it, and I said to him, you sent me this. I said, he goes, Mike, I remember the same thing. I remember Kirk Douglas dying, Helen Thomas dying. I spoke to my brother, and he remembers the same thing. So I realize that I wasn't crazy, that I wasn't misremembering, that there were others that have recall and clear memories of certain events, and now these things have changed. Yep. So I know you've gotten into the Mandela Effect, so maybe you can explain to us, talk to us a little bit about your own experiences and things that you've uncovered about the Mandela Effect.
Yeah, I vividly remember the day I found out about it. I was going to bed, and I can't remember who the video was made by, but I saw someone mention interview with a vampire, and I said to myself, well, that's wrong, because I vividly remembered this. I was a big fan of the series. My sister loves the movie, the book, all of that. So that I distinctly, even before I looked into it, I remember in my mind, I envisioned the cover. It was a red A. So it was interviewed with A was in red. And I looked into it and it was changed. And that night I began shaking. Like I wasn't scared, but it was just so, I had a lot of adrenaline going inside. I was just like, what is going on? This is insane. And I didn't know the term Mandela Effect. And there was someone on YouTube talking about CERN doing it and all this stuff, and I was like, oh my god, what is going on? So I started researching, and the more I looked at Mandela Effect, the term Mandela Effect, I found that Nelson Mandela didn't die in prison, but I remember vividly his funeral shown on TV.
I do too, yep.
And I watched it with my mum and my older sister at the time, and I phoned my sister, and I phoned my mum. I was like, Nelson Mandela, do you remember him dying? And they were like, yeah. I was like, you remember us watching the funeral together? They said, yeah. I was like, okay, well, you're not going to believe this. Well, he's alive. Well, he was alive and he became president and then he died. And it was very weird because my mum almost said to herself, oh, really? Oh, okay, well, we must have got it wrong. And I said to her, well, you just said that we watched the funeral. She was like, yeah, but it could have been, you know. And this is the kind of response I get a lot. People just think that they misremembered. But I didn't accept that, and I said to myself, well, there's something obviously going on. So the more I looked into it, the more things I found. The OxyClean, the pink. I used to always buy that because I remember I used to find it very fascinating because there was an advert on TV where they used to put a really dirty cloth into a bowl of OxyClean with water and pull it out, and it was instantly white.
Right.
And I remember specifically, I used to buy it just because I thought it was so cool. I was quite young then. And so I remember the packaging, I remember the spelling, it's all changed. And for me, it was quite hard to come to terms with, but eventually I accepted the fact that there's definitely something going on. I thought it was CERN, but now I know that it probably isn't, because for all we know, CERN doesn't even exist, or it's not what we're being told. So I don't theorize about what could be causing it, but I know there's definitely something going on, and it's not misremembering. It can't be. I mean, if you just look at the evidence, there's people, if it was misremembering, how is it that people are misremembering the exact same things? It doesn't make sense.
My daughter, when she was a kid, we used to buy her the Berenstein Bears, the book.
Yeah.
And I was talking to my daughter about the Mandela Effect going back a few months ago, and my daughter's very open, and she's a smart cookie. So I mean, she's not one of these people that's going to discount things. She's open and she's intelligent, she's smart, and so I said to her, now those books that we used to buy for you, the Beren, she goes, Steen. I said, no, it's the Berenstain, Stain, Berenstain Bears now. And she just looked at me and she said, what? So she goes on her phone and she starts to, to search it. And the look on her face, Amir, she went like white as a ghost.
White, yeah. Me too.
She says, Dad, how could this be? What is this?
Mm.
Is this a joke? I said, it's no joke. There are things that are changing. Some of them are very subtle.
Mm.
Some of them are very much more obvious. In fact, I was watching one recently where Tom Cruise comes out in the movie Risky Business.
Yeah.
And he comes out to sing the song Old Time Rock and Roll. And in the movie that I remember, he came out, he had sunglasses on.
Sunglasses, yeah.
And in the clip now, he comes out with no sunglasses.
Yeah.
Now, that's very subtle because most people are not going to pay that much attention to that, especially for a movie that is, I don't know how old that movie was. I think it was back in the 1980s or so.
Mm.
But it's things like that, the dialogue changing in the movie with Kevin Costner, Build It. And they
Build It, They Will Come, yeah.
Yeah, right. Field of Dreams. That was the name of the movie. So there's a lot of stuff, Amir. And, it is kind of interesting when you start to think about what is going on. How are they creating this? I mean, have you given any thought to that? Or are you just kind of settled in with the fact that it's happening and I don't know how it's happening?
Well, no, I have thought about it. You can't not think about these things. It's impossible, but I used to think that maybe they are doing something, but now I think to myself, well, there could be another explanation. So what could it be? So let's look and think, could it be God? Could it be the creator? Because I don't know if I've told you this, but I bought myself a virtual reality headset not long ago, and I've been playing video games on it. And when you put this thing on, Mike, after a few minutes, your mind cannot tell the difference between what's real and what's not. And the graphics are so immersive and so intense that you think you're actually in the game. So it made me think about this reality. What's to say that this is not a simulation? So for me, and with the Mandela Effect, that would be the most plausible explanation, that we're in some sort of simulation and this is something that's either a glitch or someone's doing it or someone's trying to hint to us that, look, this is not what you think it is and you've been lied to, so wake up. And I think that probably would be the most logical explanation to me. I don't think it's done by humans or whoever these people are, unless it's some sort of mind control where they managed to get into everyone's brain and change their memory. Again, it's a bit far-fetched, but anything's possible, right?
Yeah.
But to me at this point, I'm leaning more towards the simulation theory, to be honest, as to the explanation.
That's an interesting point because if it's being put out there, let's just say, I don't know, a higher intelligence is making these alterations in the virtual reality. It's very wide-ranging as far as its impact. So in other words, if you and I talk to people about, as an example, 9/11, that's going to be so polarized. There's going to be two camps at least screaming and yelling at each other.
Yeah.
So you're not going to make a lot of traction there. and pick some other topic. Pick geoengineering and chemtrails as an example. There's still people that believe you're not being sprayed, and they're very adamant about it. And you and I are conspiratards for even talking about it. But when you start putting something out there that is more broad in scope and wide ranging, that more people can relate to, as an example, let's face it, it's a culture of media. It's a culture of movies, right?
Yeah.
It's a culture of commercials, the cartoon world. If you start changing the actual cartoon world, the movies, the TVs, the dialogue, people who are completely oblivious to the overall, the bigger conspiracies, if you will, that people are putting out there, are going to relate to something like the Mandela Effect.
Yeah.
Because millennials will relate to the Berenstain Bears now being called the Berenstain Bears.
Yeah.
People will relate to the changing of dialogue in popular movies and so on. And so maybe, perhaps, it's a very good point that you're on. There's some methodology that's in place to be able to affect a broader spectrum of the population to wake them up.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, if you look at the state the world is in right now, it is complete mess. Everyone is blind and asleep and oblivious to what's going on. So I wouldn't be surprised if whoever created this wants us to wake up. So yeah, I do think it's highly plausible. And the Mandela Effect, if you look at it, it's not a conspiracy theory. I mean, a lot of people refer to it as a conspiracy. If you look on YouTube or the internet for the most talked about conspiracy, in quotes, it's the Mandela Effect. I mean, it's affecting so many people. If you just do a search on YouTube, there's people from the age of 12 making videos about it who's never had a channel, just made a channel just to talk about this because it's affected them so much. So yeah, at this point, to say it's just misremembering is just ignoring the evidence and what's going on. There's so many people waking up to the Mandela Effect. And I think it's a genius. If someone did do it to wake people up, I think it is working, and hopefully it will work and pick up pace faster.
It is working because there are people that would never touch quote unquote conspiracy theories that are researching the Mandela Effect. They're looking for other situations where things have changed.
Yeah.
And those same people are still oblivious to the other stuff, like the Apollo moon missions, the flat earth, 9/11, chemtrails, and so on. But they're very, very focused on the Mandela Effect.
Yeah. I mean, someone mentioned that the flat earth could actually be a Mandela Effect as well, which I thought was quite interesting. Have you heard about that theory?
I haven't heard that, but I can see where that could play.
Yeah.
Now, Amir, you did a brilliant video recently on the number 33.
Mm-hmm.
I loved that video. I put it up on the blog, I put it up on Facebook, and the reason why I loved it so much was because I have been trying to talk to people for a very long time about the fact that the controllers, with their occult ways, numerology and numbers are very, very important. Essentially, they paint by numbers.
Yeah.
11, 33, 666, 666, and so on. It goes on and on. And you did this video, the number 33, and you broke down all of these news events where the number 33 was very prominent in what was being reported. So could you talk to us a little bit about what you understand about the numbers and how you went about putting that video together? Because you had to painstakingly sit down, I'm thinking, and find these events. And I'm not talking about small events. These were events that were playing prominently in the media.
Yeah.
And the number 33 was front and center. So could you talk to us a little bit about that?
Yeah, sure. That video came about after I started looking into gematria, which is ancient Hebrew, basically assigning numbers to letters, and it comes from the Kabbalah, the Jewish mysticism. And if you think about language, Mike, and it's very strange. I mean, we don't really know where it came from, how we have all these different languages and where they all came from, and how we learned them. And if you look at the numerology behind the letters and the words, you soon will find that a lot of things in existence work around these numbers. Just like the Fibonacci series of numbers we see in nature everywhere, with the gematria we see numbers in letters. So with Zachary Hubbard's work on YouTube, I started to realize that they're coding numbers into news articles, into sports, into events. And I found it quite strange that the number 33 was popping up everywhere. And, you know, if you look at Freemasonry, you have 33 degrees of Freemasonry. We have our spine is 33
vertebrae.
Yep. And so the number 33 is again everywhere. And it made me think, so why would they be encoding this number in everything? It's literally in everything. And like you said, it wasn't like you said, it was a painstaking process for me to find those stories. It actually wasn't, because they're everywhere. Literally, if you go into Google News and you type 33, you get thousands. And all of these articles, they're coded with this number. And I thought to myself, well, why? What is the number 33? And once you do the research, it became clear to me that the 33 is the signature of the people who are controlling the media, basically, and the world. And they like to encode their signature into everything that they do, in all the lies that they feed us. So like we know, most of these news stories are fake. So it's not surprising that the numbers and the figures they give us in the stories are made up as well. So I just thought, well, if I put out a video showing that every news article that you've been given in the past, the articles that are covered in that video, Mike, were only from a month, 1 month period, or two months. There were a couple that were from before, but most of them were within a month or two. And I thought, well, if I put a video out that shows every news article is the same, basically, then people maybe wake up, but it's really not doing much. People just don't want to know. I have so many people commenting and saying, oh, coincidence theory, you know, this is just you can do that with any number. Like someone wrote a comment saying, well, if I go into Google News and type 84, I will get all these stories that come up. And I said to him, well, do it. And I did it myself. Nothing. You do number 1, number 2, 3, nothing. It's the only number is the number 33. And actually the number 44 as well, which I found they encode in a lot of stories where someone's died or someone's been murdered. They encode the number 44, which is, but also the 33 is always in there as well. So for me, it was just a way of trying to get people to see that your news is fake. And the way you know it's fake is because you've seen the same number in every single story from every country around the world. Like it went from America all the way to Australia. It's the same number. So that was really why I did it.
Yeah, you mentioned, Amir, about the video maybe not getting as many views as you had hoped.
Yeah.
You know, I run into the same situation with the blog. I mean, I can see all of the blog views. I mean, the blog does really well, but I can also see which stories people are paying attention to, which stories mean something or interest people.
Yeah.
And some of them that I think are very important that people need to look into. And I'm talking about an audience that goes to my blog that, you know, these are people that are quote unquote awakened, I would say. You know, they're into conspiracy research, alternative research. So these are not people that are just, you know, disconnected from our world. They're supposedly in it. And I see some of these articles getting no traction whatsoever. And I would think, well, you know what? You really need to be paying attention to what this particular YouTube piece is talking about or this article is talking about. So it's very interesting how some of this stuff doesn't get any traction. People just don't paying attention to it. In the article, it'd say 33 people were injured, 33 people died, or 33 will be in the street address. I've also found that it will be in the timestamps.
Yeah.
Right, when they post the articles. So it's all over the place. And in fact, that's one of the ways, Amir, that I have been able to detect that a story or an event is a hoax is by reading the article and then paying very specific attention to the timestamps and to the numbers that are spelled out in the article. And when you start seeing a lot of 11s, a lot of 33s, and so on, that's a clear sign that the event is orchestrated, staged, not what it's being presented as.
Yeah, I totally agree. And in a way, I think, like, I don't know if this is true or not, but I feel that in a way, they feel like they have to tell us in one way or the other when they're lying or they're, you know, putting out something that they want us to believe. They have to tell us in one way or the other. And I think these numbers and in these events are a way for them to do that. Because like the other day, I was watching an interview with this guy, British guy, who talks about the straw man thing, deception, and the legal name and all of this stuff. And I was listening to his interview. It was about 2 hours long. It was very, very interesting. I was really into it. And by the hour 30 mark, he started saying, he started explaining how he used this method to wipe out £33,000 of debt that he had collected over the years. And the instant I heard him say 33, I switched it off. It was just like, to me, it's like a signature that they put in there just so that the people who understand get it. The ones that don't, you know. And to me, it's the way to do it is they mix a lot of truth with a lot of lies. They just mix them all up and they feed it to you. So you'd never know where to look. And so when I see this number or hear it, I just instantly know there's something fishy. And I don't accept all of it for what it is given. So for me, it's also a way of, yeah, like you said, picking out what's real, what's not.
Yeah, it's interesting. Once you know it and you see it, there's no going back.
Yeah, and your mind is very interesting because I don't look for it. Like when I turn on the TV, I'm watching it, it just comes to me. So, oh, there's a 33 there. Or there isn't someone wearing an orange jumper, you know, reporting the orange equals 33. So, yeah, once you wake up to this, it becomes like second nature. It's like a seventh sense or something that we have.
It's in the movies too. I should mention that.
Yeah.
I forgot to mention that. You know, when you watch movies, it's in license plates. It's you know, a little. Basically, it's a snippet. They'll flash it, right, and you won't catch it. It's very subliminal in a way. But more and more people. I don't know how some of these people do it, Amir, where they break down these movies. I can't imagine how you find this stuff going through a movie that's 2 hours long. It's got to take you an enormous amount of time to slow that film down and to take it frame by frame to do that stuff. But thank God there are people out there that do that work. I mean, it's not me. I don't have the patience to do that. But you know, well, you're doing that type of work, so hats off to you.
Thank you. I mean, that's great. I mean, that's the only way we're ever going to move forward is by all of us doing our part and sharing it. That's the only way. Otherwise, we're just going to fall back into the same hole that we've been in for these years. Now,
there's 3 more videos that I'd like you just to comment on because these are 3 others that are very, very good on your YouTube channel. And your YouTube channel is Insanity is Sanity.
Yeah.
It's a great YouTube channel. I recommend that everybody go there and subscribe and check out Amir's videos. Now, the first I wanted to talk about is a 1-minute video. In fact, I think all of these are 1 minute. That I thought was great was 3 things that changed the world, and it was the apple. Could you tell us a little bit about how you even thought of that, the apple? Was this something that came to you quickly, or?
Yeah, it was like most of these videos that I do, I come up with ideas in the shower. It's quite odd, but when I'm in the shower, I don't know why, my mind opens up and I get these things. Like I did another video, Truth About Everything in 1 minute. I came up with the idea for that in the shower and also the apple. But the apple one, to me, I think at the time I was, because of the flat earth, obviously, when you look into the flat earth, you sort of have to look at the Bible at some point because it's all, you know, there's so many Christians talking about how the Bible explains the earth is flat. So I was looking at the Bible at the time and it was the Adam and Eve story and all of that stuff that just, as soon as I remembered the apple that the Adam and Eve bit into, I instantly connected to Steve Jobs, the apple, and I was like, hang on a minute, apple, and then the flat earth, Newton, gravity, apple, and then, so to me it was just a very interesting concept, and I just thought I'd just make a quick video about it. But yeah, it is very interesting because they are literally 3 things that changed the world. I mean, the apple, the Adam and Eve story tells us where we are in a way, and then you've got the gravity, Newton with his falling apple, which builds the heliocentric model and everything that's based around gravity. And then we have Steve Jobs' apple, which has everyone glued into a screen. Literally, there are people who live life through their phone. So they'll go to a concert and they'll film it and they'll look through their phone. They won't actually watch it live. And so it has literally changed the world. It's turned everyone into zombies. So I thought it was a very interesting idea to just make a quick video about it. But again, like the other videos that are this sort of information are included in it, it doesn't get many views. I don't know if it's because YouTube suppresses these kinds of videos or is it just because people don't want to hear it.
Now, the next video was another great video, and it's called Everything Fake in 1 Minute. and it's short and sweet, and you got right to the point. And what I'm going to do, Amir, is I'm going to take these videos, these 1-minute videos, and I'm going to tack them on to the end of our discussion here so that people who are watching this and maybe hadn't seen those videos, they'll be able to see them. So it's going to take up 4 minutes of time at the end of this discussion. I recommend everybody stick around and watch those videos. Knowing that virtually everything in the world is staged, fake, a hoax, a lie, how does that make you feel, think, or act? I mean, is it depressing, or is it empowering, or is it both?
I'd say it's both. I'd say it's more empowering. I've become a lot calmer as a person, a lot more loving. I've also noticed that because now I'm more awake to everything, I take life a lot less seriously. Like, I don't get wound up as easily. I respect other people more. So it has changed me a lot, and it's also affected people around me because of the way I am. Like, as I used to have a very short temper, I used to get angry a lot. But now I just look at life and I'm like, well, we've been lied to about everything. This world is not what we've been told, so it's not so bad. There's so much to find. That's how I look at it. I look at it as in, there's so much to explore. It's fun, you know. You've got to laugh at it, because at the end of the day, what's the worst thing that can happen? You know, we live and we die, and then we figure out what the answer is. But while we're here, there's no point in getting angry about it. You got to make up your mind about what you believe and where you want to be, and just go for it. And that's what I'm doing. I'm trying to better myself. Whereas before I found out about all of these lies, I wasn't so bothered about that. I was just, you know, go to uni, work, get a good job. But now I see that there's so much more to it. I've started making things. Like, I've got this urge to create ever since all of this came about. So I'm doing that. So it's benefiting me in a lot of ways. I do occasionally still get mad, but I brush it off, and I just look forward to what's going to come, because I know that there's something has to change. Something has to change, because we're at a point now where it can't go on like this anymore. The lies they can't sustain themselves. It's going to collapse. And I'm looking forward to that day, because everything will change. I mean, humanity as a whole will change. And I think it already has in a way, but it needs to change more. And that's what I look forward to.
Yeah, well, I tell folks, because folks ask me, they'll say, Mike, you know, isn't this stuff depressing that you talk about, that you research and you get into? And I'm like, you know what? In the beginning, I don't want to say it was maybe a little depressing when I first got into it, because it was such a paradigm shift. It was culture shock. But then what happened was, I agree with you, Amir. What happens is you become empowered, because now you understand what this so-called reality is all about. And by understanding more about how it works, you avoid the pitfalls. You stay away from those things that you now realize are there to entrap you. And that's how I've bettered my life. As an example, we are brought up to believe that debt is good. To go into debt is good because you want material things, you want to have a good life, you want to have a great lifestyle. And by the way, you know, in all likelihood, you're not going to be making enough money to pay cash for all these things. So, you know, going into debt is a good thing. And going, you know, to college and racking up student loans, going into debt early in your life, it's okay, because that's just the way it works. And at the end of the day, you're going to get your degree and you're going to get some great job, which most people are finding out doesn't really exist. So the point I'm making is that people who are aware of these things now, they steer clear of the potholes. And in some cases, it's more than a pothole. It's like a cliff, right? I consider the whole debt apparatus to be a death trap for many, many people. And that's what I found, you know, and like you said, you know, it becomes very interesting and very intriguing to go look at a lot of this stuff. It really does. It's really mentally challenging. I mean, do you find that?
I do. You just said something about debt being a death trap. Like, if you look at a mortgage, the word mortgage is a morgue. So you're basically paying till you die. So all of these things, like, when you realize how everything's built, like, the people who are not awake, like, they are affected by these lies because they accept it, not willingly, but they still accept it without realizing. But once you realize the lies and you don't accept them, that in itself will change you. Like, it will change your mentality and the way you think. So just not accepting what you've told will really drastically change everything, your beliefs. And that's what I found. The only thing that mentally challenges me is the research that I do, because it is quite difficult. Like you said earlier, I didn't know anything about the heliocentric model, for example, either before I became a flat earther. And now I'm having to learn all of the stuff. And it is quite difficult. A lot of the mathematics that they put out is so difficult that you just, and I think that's one of the reasons it's difficult, is so that majority won't understand it.
Yeah.
But, you know, once you dig into it and that can be a bit challenging. But other than that, not really.
Well, one of the things that they do is they use math as their quote unquote, their evidence.
Yeah.
And math is not evidence, but they have convinced everybody that if you have 9 chalkboards full of mathematical equations, that somehow you've solved all the answers of all time. The answers of the universe are contained on those chalkboards. And that's something too. It's very slick. It's very slick because most people will look at, as an example, you always see pictures of Einstein there and he's writing math on chalkboards. And people have been conditioned to believe that because he has all of that written on the chalkboard, he's got to have the answer. He's got to be right. And I'll just fall in line. I'll just embrace whatever it is that they're telling me, because obviously they're the experts and I'm not. At the end of the day, it's all a farce.
Yeah. I mean, math is just another language.
Exactly.
It's like English and French and math. It's just a way to explain something that you can't explain using words. That's what it is.
And they can back into anything. They can use math to qualify anything. And that's what folks have to understand, you know. So now, Amir, you have been very generous with your time. So this will be the last question, because I don't want to, like I said, talk your ear off here. But
I love talking about this stuff. I mean, if I could sit down and just talk all night, I would. But that's why the internet is so amazing right now, because people like us can connect. If it wasn't for the internet, I don't know, I probably would have gone insane.
Well, I say the same thing. I have a network of friends that I have met through the shows, and you know, many were guests initially, and then we just bonded as you know, we have a fellowship, you know, because we have like-minded folks getting together and talking about stuff that, quite honestly, we can't have these conversations with the average person in the street, friends, family, because, you know, either they don't get it or they think that, you know, we're scary people because we talk about this stuff.
A lot of people say that, what's the point of doing shows and just sitting there talking about this stuff? But in all honesty, these shows and people talking is the only thing that's going to change the world.
Right.
To really cut it short is the only thing that's going to change anything. So,
well, it's communication. If we don't communicate out, then you're not going to hear different perspectives.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Now, you did a third video, and it has a very ominous title, and it's called "There Is No Future."
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and I know some people look at that like, oh no, is this going to be one of those depressing videos? I knew when I saw the title that you were getting at something else, but I can see how others who are not, you know, acclimated toward your work or the types of work that you do would think that, oh, maybe this is going to be negative. I don't know, you know. So tell us about There Is No Future and what that video was about.
The video was about time, basically. I'm a true believer of the fact that, again, time is something that has been missold to us. I think it's like more of a construct than anything. And a lot of people spend their life worrying either about the past or the future, or what's to come, what's going to happen if I do this, or, you know, why did I do that last week? And in all honesty, if you sit down and if you think about life, existence as a whole, there is only one moment in life. You can never see the future. Like, if I'm sitting here, I'm talking to you now, and there's one moment, I can say, yep, in 1 second, I'm going to say, for example, this or whatever. But that 1 second never comes. It's always the now, right? And so that was the point of the video. It was just trying to explain that there's no point worrying about the future. It's only the now that matters. And what you do in that 1 second, in that one moment, will define the other moments that will follow. And that was just it, basically. It's just a way of saying, enjoy the now, because it's really all you have. And I think that's the most important thing throughout all of this research, all of it. The only thing that really matters is what's happening right now, what you do, and how you treat others and treat yourself in that
being
one
present
moment.
being present in the moment, right?
In the moment, yeah.
Yeah. And when you think about what the controllers do, they like to take people into the future.
Yeah.
And many times when they take you into the future, it's a future of worry.
Mm-hmm.
They want you to worry. And I was watching one video one time, I think it was a long time ago, it was with Santos Bonacci, but it wasn't Santos who said this, it was somebody else that was in the documentary with him, but he had said something, I'm going to paraphrase, hopefully I get it right, but he said that worrying is praying for something you don't want to have happen.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what the controllers do. They put all this stuff out there. So they don't want you to be present. They want you to be in a state of limbo in a way. And so they'll take you into the future. And they also spend a lot of time, trying to get you to look to the past too. Because if something in the past happened, then what they'll say is, now go to the future.
Perfect, you said, yeah.
So they what they do is they swing back and forth. I tell people it's like being on a tennis court, and the net on the tennis court is the actual in the moment. That's where you should be focused, is at the net. And what they do is they like to have the volley go back and forth, past, future, and you're never present. You're watching their ball going back and forth, and it distracts people. It keeps them from focusing on themselves. It keeps people from understanding their true selves. It keeps them from feeling empowered. So I'll tell you, the whole game that they have in play, Amir, is, we mentioned before, it's brilliant in a very, very evil way.
Yeah.
How they go about controlling humanity, right?
Mm-hmm. And you got to ask yourself, why are they doing it? And how long it's been going on for? I mean, like you put it perfectly, like the whole analogy you used with the volleyball ball and all. Yeah, it's exactly what they're doing. They're swinging you back and forth, and you're never there present to witness what's really going on, because they want you worried. Yeah, like you said, worrying. It's amazing. But once you I'm always in the present. Like once you wake up to all of this, you can't do anything but stay in the present, because you realize how precious, like, not just time but your life is in a sense, because everyone has a reason for being here, whatever it may be, however small or big it may be. Everyone has a reason for being here, and the only way you can utilize your time and everything to change the world for the better is to be present. If you're not present, you're not going to be able to do much.
Right.
Like you said, you're going to be in limbo and you're just going to worry. Like they've been making you worry all these years about things that are going to come or might come.
All your life.
Yeah, and all the things that happened in the past, like you said, like Hitler, for example, the story about Hitler. Oh, how Hitler did this and that, and now we have to kill all of these other people because of what he did. And it's just a loop. It's just going round and round. It never stops.
Amir, this has been an awesome conversation. I had a lot of fun doing this.
Too.
I'm glad that we connected. But before we wrap up here, where can our audience see more of your work? A YouTube channel? Do you have a blog or a website?
Yeah, my YouTube channel is Insanity Sanity, and I have a website with the same name, a blog, insanitysanity.com. And yeah, that's really it. I mean, I don't spread out much. I like to keep it contained in a small place so it's easy to find.
Yeah, well, I'm going to, like I said, put the 1-minute videos. I'm going to tack them on to the end of this conversation. I highly recommend to the audience that you take a look at Amir's blog and especially his YouTube channel. There's a lot of very good work there. And I want to say, Amir, it's been a pleasure
Likewise.
Connecting with you. And come back anytime, my friend. You have an open invite to come back and talk about whatever it is you want to talk about.
Thank you so much.
We'll reconnect.
Thank you so much for having me, Mike. It was very fun. It was very fun. And time went by so quickly. It's been, an hour and a half? I didn't even notice.
Hour and a half.
I didn't even notice. Yeah. It's like 10 minutes. But yeah, thanks a lot for having me.
All right, man. I'll have you back.
Sure, definitely. Take care.
All right, Amir.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye now.
Three things that changed the world. 1. The apple. 2. The apple. 3. The apple. "33 dead in California warehouse fire. 33 dead in record Sokoto road crashes. Man 33 and woman 21 found dead at property in Paignton. Nearly 33% kidney patients die every year for want of the organ. 33 lives claimed by heart attacks, murder and suicide. At least 41 dead and 33 injured in Iraq suicide bombing. At least 33 dead after bus swerves off Mountain Road in Nepal. 3 dead, 33 wounded in shooting in Chicago. 17 dead, 33 injured after luxury bus crashes into 2 cars. 33 dead in twin bombing in Iraq. 2 killed, 33 injured in bomb attacks in Turkey's Adana. Algeria road accidents. 33 killed, 278 injured in 1 week. 33 dead in landslides and floodings in Nepal. 13 dead, 33 injured in Thai riverboat collision. 33 Afghan civilians shot dead after kidnapped in Gore province. Death toll of Oakland, California fire rises to 33. Potential gas leak reported after US Route 33 crash. 33 homes constructed in just 3 weeks. Rural raiders hit 33 homes in just 14 days in Suffolk. Reports show 33% rise in drinking levels since 1980. Route 33 bridges over Route 22 to be replaced. Cancer cases up 33%. Sally and Bob's owners look back on 33 years. Revenues fall 3.3% on subdued European market. Romania's industry grows by 3.3% in September. 33 dead due to ban on RS500 and RS1000. 2 killed, 33 injured by suspected PKK terrorist in Turkey. 10 dead, 33 injured after bus collides with container lorry in India. These 33 hilarious letters to Santa will make your kids seem like angels. Congress predicts 33 out of 70 seats in self-conducted pre-poll survey. Hurricane Matthew's US death toll rises to 33. Hillary Clinton deletes 33,000 emails. 7 dead, 33 injured in weekend violence in Chicago. 4 Afghans killed, 33 others injured in attack in German consulate. Brazil prisons riots leave 33 dead. Kabul suicide attack tolls rise to 33 dead. Families welcome home bodies of 33 Australians who died during Vietnam War. 33 Bangladeshi Haji pilgrims dead in KSA. Flash floods and heavy rains leave 33 dead in northern parts. 33 dead in 1 week of demonstrations. 1 person dead in Route 33 crash. 5 killed, 33 injured in militant shelling of West Aleppo. 1 moderately injured in bus accident, 33 lightly hurt. Gabriel Jesus wants number 33 shirt at Manchester City. Route 33 traffic light concerns. 8 killed, 33 wounded in weekend shootings across Chicago. 33 injured in collision of Long Island Railroad trains. World crude steel productions up 3.3%. And finally, Chinese astronauts describe food and fun on 33-day journey. When I was a kid and my dad asked me, "What are you gonna make of your life?" I had no idea. And what will you be in the future? I didn't know. All I know, and this I realized not too long ago, is that there is no future. I can't be bothered to do it today. I'll leave that till tomorrow. There is no tomorrow. All you have is now, the present. Picture this. Think of a conveyor belt that's constantly moving towards you on an infinite loop. Now what you call the future is a series of presents, a series of nows coming to you on a conveyor belt, one moment at a time. Now how you choose to spend that moment, or how you choose to maximize that now or interact with it, will have a ripple effect on the many nows that are to follow. That's all it is. then now that goes past you is the past. We have one bell, all of us. One bell, one life. The choices you make in this one moment will define the moments to come. So whose life are you living? Who's making the choices for you that you're making today? Because those choices will define who you are. So today, now, what are you? Who can you be? My answer, be all you can. Today. "9/11 was an inside job. Vaccines will kill your kids. GMO equals death. Evolution is a lie. Big Bang is a big hoax. Dinosaurs never existed. Psychedelics show you truth. Governments are evil. Bush, Trump, Clinton, all the same. Elections are rigged. False flags are real. If you have cancer, someone is murdering you. Cannabis kills cancer. You can see unconditional love in a dog's eyes, but not in the humans. We are all one. Satan runs the world. The earth is flat. There's a dome above your head. The truth does hurt. The moon has its own light. Fukushima was a hoax. CERN is evil. Israel is a terrorist state. Abortion is murder. God is real. Wikipedia is a lie. You are a slave. 90% of us are asleep. Your TV is watching you. The truth is out there. This video should go viral, but it won't. You are love. Have no fear.
And that concludes another Sage of Quay interview, and I hope you enjoyed the discussion as much as I did. Links to my guests' websites and social media are listed in the show notes below. And as always, I'd like to thank everyone for listening and visiting the blog. You can get to the blog by typing in sageofquayradio.blogspot.com or simply head over to our hub website at sageofquay.com. Also, if you get a moment, please visit laboroflovemusic.com to listen to my album, Leaving Dystopia. And remember, live in truth and always serve creation. It's really that simple. See everyone next week. Be safe, enjoy, and God bless.
You're nothing but a bunch of fools, and I've gotta go, yeah.